Good morning, everyone, and happy Thursday. I'm sorry, this system just sent me a message, so that's why I was reading it. I hesitated. Okay, so happy Thursday once again, and I'm here to talk a little bit about sales because today I'm realizing more and more after let me go get my, just pick her up for me, please. No, just pick her up for me, please. Sorry, guys. Okay, so today is all about how listening is more vital than sales, than you think, right? Listening rather than speaking. And it's probably the number one mistake I see when it comes to sales. I was an art consultant for 17 years. I was in people's homes with the interior designers, watching them talk and make sales and encourage larger purchases and make suggestions. Part of the reason why I became a coach is in doing that, I saw that a lot of designers struggled with speaking to the clients, speaking to them about what they selected, how much things would cost, and often they lost the sale because they didn't understand the nuances of listening. So we did a beta test session with a bunch of my clients yesterday for our new pricing model that's coming out shortly. And it ended up being a lot of conversation about how do you present these larger dollar amounts to clients. And when I listened to people talking, I realized that sometimes they're giving too much information too early on. And I know that's contrary to what a lot of coaches are teaching, but sometimes you have to go along with the psychological path of somebody's tolerance for spending money and their learning curve. All right. But what you want to be the best at is listening. I had a client last week where she literally said she presents her designs and only in probably 5% of the cases does she ever even have one revision. And she does full homes. And I said, how do you do that? And she said, well, I'm a really good listener and I observe the household and I observe the people. I do a lot less talking at my consults than probably a lot of other people. And I'm like, bingo, that's it. That's why you're so good at what you do. So problem number one, right? When it comes to selling, most people talk too much. Right. And I've witnessed this over and over again. They want to show, well, did you see the article about me in this magazine? And I have this great idea about your house. And they rattle on so much because it's really just enthusiasm most of the time. But talking too much is reading to that potential client that it's all about you and it's not about them. So asking questions, listening more is better than talking too much and trying to prove yourself too early on. Being a good listener is what people want. They want to know that they're being heard before they're handing money over to you. So these are the problems I see. They're listed in the description. Talking too much. Number two, trying to look busier than you are. I remember years ago, there was a business owner who set up this whole business line for their practice that it was an answering service. They were a one-person show, but they needed this answering service to make them sound like a larger firm. And I laughed. I'm like, why would you do that? Some people actually like to work with solopreneurs, knowing they're only working with that person. Other people like to work with a firm so they know when they need an answer, they'll always get it. So just don't try to look busier than you are. Don't try to look bigger than you are. Just be honest and be authentic. If you're available in a week or two, then you say, I'm available next week on this date if you'd like me to come in. If you're not available for 3 months, you say that. I'm not available for 3 months, but I'd love to have this job. I'd love to work with you. Or I'm not available for 3 months, but I have an associate interior designer who I can have work on this job. Something that is honest. You don't need to make yourself busier, look busier than you are just to get a client. It usually backfires. The number three is trying too hard. I hear this probably daily from my clients, like, oh my God, I got a consult coming in that it's a huge job and I really want it, or it's a historic home, or it's going to give me tons of visibility. And before you even get into the consult, you're like, I got to get this job. Okay. When you're trying too hard, that can often backfire. The most success you're going to have is kind of like calm confidence when you're going into a client. So make sure that you are not trying too hard, because that trying too hard is going to roll right into, actually, I should have put this, number 5, it's that caring too much about the outcome. They kind of go hand in hand. Caring too much, trying too hard. It often comes across as being frenetic, being nervous, and that can read to somebody as being insecure. Okay. So take a deep breath and try to put it in perspective. I either get this job or I don't, based on whether this client feels I'm a good fit for them and whether my pricing is within their investment level. That's all you need to worry about, okay? So just speak slowly, speak calmly, and be a good listener. Don't wait to talk. Just wait to listen and ask another question that could be helpful in you determining this person's personality and their style and what they really need you to do. All right, there's a nuance there. So I'm going to go to number 4 now. Giving too much info that the client sees a disconnect somewhere. Now, what does this mean? I have seen over and over again designers saying, let me show you this job, and let me show you a picture of this, and let me show you all these different types of jobs that I can do. I can do anything. And I think to myself, what happens is if you're showing that potential client one picture that is their style and they really love, and 4 that they don't love, they may question whether you're the right designer for them. So sometimes less is more. We don't want to feed them. And then when we get to that stage, we're going to have this, and this is what that's going to cost. Like, we don't need to dump everything about our business models, about our pricing models, all in the first phone call or the first meeting. And I hear a lot, well, I'm trying to screen them. I don't waste my time anymore. There is a nuance to the way you can talk to somebody. I call it my desire sales formula, to weed out the information that you need in order to get them to a paid consult. And the key to that formula, which I teach to my Profit Insiders, and it's inside my membership site, is keeping it short and simple. What do you need? This is how I can help you. It's like step by step, my formula. And people who use it literally now use it always to sell, because it's very conversational, it's very simple, it's not a hard sell, and it stops you from saying too much, which will kill the sale. Sometimes you kill your own sales because you talk too much. So try to work on this week and going forward, being a better listener. Paying number 6, I'm jumping all around today, is if you're not paying attention to a client's body language when you're speaking. I mean, now as an art consultant, I would step back and I'd be watching a designer do their thing. And I'm literally looking at the client, and the client's like looking at an idea and sort of grimacing, and just they're starting to do this, and that's closed off body language. And they're not responding well to your suggestions or what you're saying. So think about if you say less and actually look at the client while you're saying it and observe their reaction so that you can quickly pivot if you're seeing things that aren't making them happy, that they're not enthused. So listen more, pay attention more, talk less, get out of your own head. And if you need more assistance with your sales, hop into my membership site. There's a whole sales section and all scripts and formulas on how to get through this sales process. It's not that hard once you learn it and practice it. One of my clients really struggled with how she could take my sales script and make it like her own voice. And we worked on that on my business health line for a long time. And then all of a sudden she called me, she said, oh my God, I finally got it. And I do it off the top of my head, and it works. And it works every time. I'm like, see that? This is what happens. So having a script is great, but you have to practice it and realize that it's going to be an experiment all the time on the way you deliver information. And that's often what you have to practice. It's sometimes about what you're saying, but more times it's about how you're saying it and how it's being perceived, and you not being aware of that. So lots of tips today. Go back and listen from the beginning if you were here and you missed some of it. And if you need more assistance with sales, obviously my programs are all related to confidence in sales, but the membership site has a ton of training in it for people who want to sort of go slow and go at their own pace. But the sales section is quite robust because it's one of my superpowers. So go have a great Thursday. I'll see you next week for Thursday Thoughts, and reach out to me if you need me. Thanks, everyone.